And welcome to the Glacially Musical Podcast. It is beer, metal, and swearing. Of course, I am Nick Cameron, the idiot that started all this, and I am joined by my good friend. He's a little bit short, he's a little bit chubby, and he's awfully fuzzy. Koala Chakas. How we doing today?
Did you know the koalas sleep 22 hours a day and have vicious claws?
Oh my god, that just sounds lovely.
I could wish I could sleep 22 hours a day. How are you, my friend?
I am good. A lot of weirdness going on, which we talked about off air, but this is a good happy time, so we're not going to talk about that now and my complicated life situation. If you are joining us for episode 2 of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, we're going to discuss Freaky Styley and the Uplift Mofo Party Plan, which I hear is a plan based on a band and a band based on a plan. I don't know if that's true. We'll find out. As if you are here and you are new, thank you very much. Please give us a like, drop a comment, call me ugly, say I'm balding. I love that stuff because I don't feel awkward enough about my looks. But here's how we do this: we do a beer check, we do a vinyl check, news of the day, shirt check. Actually, we should shirt then news because it should be check news because that sounds funny. That sounds better than check news check. Yeah, check news. It's like, we will rock you. News, check news. Anyway, so beer check. Today I am rocking one of the last can of this I have. This is the Great Lakes Lake Erie Monster Imperial IPA. It is a 9.5% something. Got this on my trip. Picked this up in Ohio, which is where they are based out of. Unfortunately, they do not distribute in St. Louis. One of my coworkers brought me back a 6-pack of their Edmund Fitzgerald Porter, as list viewers may recall. So, finger fudge pour, and I turn it to you.
Nice. If anybody out there listening can get me even a can of that new Rush Pale Ale, please do. I am having a beer I have never had before. It's a popular brand out here, Faction Brewing, and this is the Penske file. And it kind of looks like the Critic with glasses on. I'm not sure if I'm missing an in joke here with this can artwork. I'm not sure if my focus is off on my camera a little bit, but hopefully you can see. Anywho, this is a Penske File Pale Ale, 5.8 alcohol by volume, Mosaic Uconot hops. And
Mosaic's good.
The malts are American two-row Crystal 45. If you know what that means, tell me.
The malts I don't, the hops I do.
All right, then. Are those good hops?
Yes, the Mosaic. I really like Mosaic. This has, what does this have? It doesn't say. Got a government warning though.
Decent pop, finger fudge, pour. It's frothy. It's a frothy boy. Don't go over.
Same.
No whammy, no whammy, no whammy.
Cheers,
1, 2,
my friend.
3. Cheers.
Cheers.
Mm.
My God, if this were available in St. Louis, I would be dead.
It's certainly hoppy, but it is tasty. Definitely an acquired taste. This would be good with a red meat.
I'm a big fan of the super hoppy. Speaking of red meat, I'm actually inviting some friends over this Friday, because my family's out of town. My mother-in-law is going to be gone. We have a duplex where she lives on the first floor, and I am going to put stupid arena football on the TV outside, get a fire pit, bacon wrapped steak kebabs, shrimp kebabs, and veggie kebabs, and just going to have a good old time.
If you have vegetarian friends, cook the veggie kebabs first so you're not cooking their vegetarian food on the grill that had meat on it.
No vegetarians are coming over for this. It's gonna be way too meaty. But my vinyl check, I got 2 today.
All right.
I'm going to start off with a stone cold classic that has been the source of much political controversy because the title track is not, in fact, a patriotic song. What is it?
Born in the USA, Bruce Springsteen.
Booyah!
It's the go-to. You gave it away, kind of.
That was I know. Got it for $10 at the antique mall. It's already in the mylar sleeve. I don't know if you can tell, but it is a gorgeous clean pressing and sounds great. Love this one. Now,
are you a big Springsteen fan?
I would not even call myself a Springsteen fan, but I wanted to buy something and it seemed good enough.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, this next one I am a fan of. In fact, my kid made fun of me for purchasing this one. This is Aerosmith, Permanent Vacation. And anybody who follows my Instagram might be thinking, but Nick, you already have Aerosmith Permanent Vacation. And while that is true, I wanted a super clean copy of it. The other copy I have is a DJ promo that has been used at weddings, and the cover looks like it's been used at weddings. It's gotten beer spilt on it, it's gotten everything spilt on it. It's just an absolute beater. It is also, the record itself sounds great, but I wanted all the bits. So this came with the picture, lyric sleeve, all that good stuff. This
The
is
lyric
actually.
sleeve that looks blank.
Oh,
I'm sorry, it looked blank when you flashed it. It was great though.
if we want to talk about lyrics that should be blank, we'll get to that in a little while.
In a little while, yeah. Out of curiosity, how much were those two purchases?
Born in the USA was $10, which is a little pricier than it probably should have been. This one I got for 14, and it is a Columbia House edition.
No shit.
So if you look very low at the bottom there, I don't know if you can read it, but there's some gold typing on the bottom left-hand corner. My left, that is manufactured for Columbia House.
Not their true comeback record, but honestly a great record. I probably need to buy one myself someday. And I have a great Aerosmith Permanent Vacation story I'm going to save for another time.
Actually, this was $18 according to the sticker.
Is that what you paid? Or are you not sure?
Maybe it was 18. I don't remember. It wasn't more than 20. I know that.
All right.
I couldn't help myself.
I understand. We often can't. Is it my turn?
It is your turn. I am done.
All right. I have a 1-4 today. A 1-4. I'm going to slide it on over. Arguably the single or second best punk rock album of 2023 so far. Either one or two, depending on your fandom. This is Co-Defendants, Crime Wave. This is Crime Wave. And so this is a super group of sorts. A famous graffiti artist, punk hanger-on, a rapper, and it's written and produced with Fat Mike of NoFX. He's not quite in the band for live stuff because he's still busy with the Punk Museum and NoFX. But so this is Crime Wave. It's kind of like rap, punk, world music, just chill vibes, almost like a Sublime type of chill ska, but also punk and very gritty songs about being in jail, which several of these guys were. And
if it's a little rappy, they should have gotten Killer Mike.
Well, one of the songs features the DOC, famous for his association with Dr. Dre and Snoop. Like the DOC, no one can do it better, if you know that line from Dre Day. And so really quick, this was $30 at their second show ever that I attended here in San Francisco. It's a review at Ghost Cult. I'll link it in the description. It came with this beautiful lyric sheet, including a photo of the two main guys, not Fat Mike, but the other two guys, Sam King and Chesky Ramos, who's actually an East Coast guy, but it's got a little West Coast rap thing. So it's like punk rock, ska punk, rap, melodic punk, hardcore a little bit of punchy sometimes. Incredible show live, incredible. And then for their debut show, they did like a little half performance, a half set. And the DOC came out with them and did the song with them. And it came on this beautiful cream to highlight and accentuate the orange in their orange and white color scheme. The cream colored, not translucent. It's like a milky kind of pattern. It's like somebody spilled the milk on the vinyl. So it's got a beard hair on it already from my bed. Okay. Anywho,
speaking of my terrible idea of Fat Mike and Killer Mike being on a record together. Am I the only one that wants John 5 to do a record and tour with Johnny 5 of Flowbots?
How about the Jurassic 5 as the backing group?
Well, there we go. Everybody wins. It's Johns and Fives everywhere.
John 5 just recently got a new Fender Telecaster. Sorry, not Gibson. Fender Telecaster limited edition. It's like $5,000 if you want to play John 5's similar guitar.
You can get cheaper one. Well, let me rephrase. At one point in time, he had a meet and greet for $500 that included the lowest level of his guitar, which he doesn't do that anymore. He's way pricier than that now, but I thought that was pretty awesome. But real quick, shirt check
and then news check. Yeah,
I got Metallica Ride the Lightning.
Trying to make you laugh, trying to cheer you up. It's not working. Look at the face.
Uh, corn checks,
Chex Mix.
puppy chow.
I'm done.
You haven't done your shirt check yet? Because
No,
if you
you were
don't,
doing do yours. I
I already
interrupted.
did it.
Do it again. I interrupted you. What if people are listening to the podcast and not watching?
Metallica, Ride the Lightning.
It's a pretty
I
cool shirt. It looks like a blue all over. It's not black,
It
right?
is. It is blue. I need you to check that damn shirt so you can't blame me later.
They find a way to confuse myself so I don't do it again. I am wearing the recent Mr. Bungle tour shirt that I picked up in Vegas and my Boozwa hat, Maybe I'm a Bird, which is the name of their upcoming new EP, although this hat is like 3 years old. So, yeah, Mr. Bungle, if you like the hardcores and the metals, super group of dudes, three original Bungalites, Dave Lombardo and Scott Ian of Anthrax.
Hmm.
Not too shabby.
Just so you know, I have a cat rebellion going on the other side of the door. So if I make any sudden movements, I'm worried about what they're doing. But news of the day, we're going to keep it a little bit short this week because we're probably going to go long as we're doing 2 records and we only do 1 these days typically. But Keefy had some news that he told me about. Do you want to drop that?
Yes, I got in trouble for not in trouble, but it was some confusion. By the time you are hearing this, Metallica will have released a brand new digital only EP with Amazon Music. That is a series of performances called the Amsterdam Sessions. I'm not sure if these were live recordings from the M72 tour or they went into a studio in Amsterdam and videoed them, because there's also videos. And it's 2 new songs, newish songs from 72 Seasons, and 2 old ones, Master of Puppets and Nothing Else Matters, that no one needs. But
Yeah,
it
I've got
looks
that on
cool.
everything.
It looks cool and it sounds cool, and then that always opens up the door that later on maybe they'll do a vinyl or something. But yeah, the Amsterdam Sessions by Metallica dropping this week, and I got the news today. It's officially not till tomorrow, but by the time this is live, it'll be public.
Digital only, aka why I did not hear Beyond Magnetic for 15 years.
Because it wasn't on vinyl.
No, because it wasn't even on CD and I missed it. And I don't like buying digital. I've always had a real rough time even before I switched to vinyl. But I do have Beyond Magnetic on vinyl now, which I'll be honest, was not necessarily worth $100 I paid for it. But I paid it, so I can't change that now.
You're a brave man, sir. You're a brave man. I don't have a great deal of other news except to share with our fans that may or may not know. In the Northeast, the New England Metal and Hardcore Festival is back, headlined by Lamb of God, and also has Shadows Fall and a bunch of other bands. And my years and years in Boston preceding the time I lived there, because any opportunity to mention that I lived in New England and Boston, preceding the time that I lived there and including the time that I lived there was very formative for me. I made friendships there. I covered it many times. Technically, partially got into Ghost Cult because I had covered it in the past on a really wonderful festival run by Scott Lee, who's a band manager and promoter in the hardcore and metal scene, and you might know him. And yeah, just super stoked that it's coming back, and that got announced formally today. I had broken the news. I got the sly somebody tipped me off to what was coming, and I had it early, but it's official now, so that's cool. And I think that's I don't have much this week. I'm not sure what else to share.
Cool. Well, let's just go ahead and move forward. We didn't talk about the tour last week, so as we pick up on these series, we typically start with the tour as behind it. So we will talk about the tour for the Red Hot Chili Pepper self-titled record. Fairly nondescript. What was evident in the very quick, however, was that Anthony Kiedis and Jack Sherman were not exactly great friends. And musical and personal tensions arose. So throughout the rest of the tour, as you do when you're on the drugs, the hard drugs, you get confused. And at the end of the tour, they fired one Jack Sherman and who just happened to be out of his band, but one Hillel Slovak, who returns home to the mothership, which is foreshadowing, to get back into the studio with the boys. Cliff Martinez, however, still in the band. Jack Irons has not come back at this point. Put a pin in that, however. So then they go into the studio. Well, before they go to the studio, now remember, they're on EMI. They are on a significant record label. So they somehow made it. They asked, who would you like to work with? And their response was, of course, George Clinton. Perfect. George Clinton will probably have a good idea of who they are, what they do. So after they begin writing songs, and then George says, "You need to come up to Detroit. We're going to record it in Detroit." He is paid $25,000 for his efforts.
Did that seem low to you?
It did seem low to me. However, I'd also point out that George Clinton isn't precisely a producer, so they would need somebody to run the knobs as well. I assume. I don't know for sure, but he's awfully high, so I assume he probably couldn't do it. And speaking of high, put a pin in that. We'll get to that in a minute. Anthony Kiedis does it. George Clinton then tells them, "You need to come up to Detroit and hang out and live at my house for 2 weeks." So what does George Clinton bring out when they get there? Dr. Roxo's favorite salts, cocaine. Now here's where the story gets a little bit, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Anthony Kiedis did not make it up for the bonding coke sessions, that was a bonding session so they could get to know each other. I believe he was going through very serious withdrawals at this point, and it took him some time to get up there. So I think he was only there for 3 or 4 of the 14 days.
And mind you, he's from the area. He is from the Detroit area.
I didn't realize
it should have been
Detroit.
A homecoming. I mean, Michigan-ish. He's from Michigan. He's from Michigan. I know Michigan is vast and not just Detroit or.
Well, it's a lot like Missouri. There's not a whole lot of places. Look, I live in flyover country. I'm gonna take shots at other flyover states. At least I got some lakes. All I got's a river all I got's a murder river. But
murder river. Is that where the bodies go? I'm serious.
Right. Read a Rip in Heaven if you feel like getting horribly disgusted for weeks on end.
Okay.
And that's all I will say about that. But the thing about the Mississippi is we were always told that if you get one foot in it, it's going to drag it down to New Orleans. I don't know if that's true, but it was true enough to make me never put my feet near that river because it's scary. Anyway, so they go back up, they re-demo, they do all the business, then they write Freaky Styley. Freaky Styley, probably about the worst title you could come up with, I think. I don't think this is a very good one. So might as well just go ahead and get straight into the track by track.
Named for the song, I'm just going to say, like, of all the tracks, I mean, like, I get why, but I don't get why. It's it's just like it was not a good choice. I mean, I don't know what the other choices would have been, but anything else could have been better than this.
I will let you know when we get to the point in the story where the Red Hot Chili Peppers begin to make good decisions.
Yeah, it's coming. Barely.
We're not there yet.
But yeah.
So George Clinton, obviously of Parliament Funkadelic, Kindred Spirits to a point, and this is the pure funkiest record they ever do. It's not funk, but it's almost fun. It's more funk than the previous and every other record coming forward.
It's a step up, but not much. And I will say co-produced definitely by the Cocaine, as you said. Literally, they should have credited Bolivia or Colombia as the co-producer of this album.
Well, George, I'm going to spoil this little tidbit. George Clinton's drug dealer is on the record. Apparently, he showed up with the cocaine, and they didn't have the money to pay him. So instead of him being paid for the cocaine, he gives some vocals to Yertle the Turtle. Okay, yes, should have been.
When you're truly out of ideas and you owe the drug dealer money, I wonder if he got points on the record, and that's like paying him still. Nick is laughing. So I didn't mean it. I didn't say it funnily.
The idea of the drug dealer getting points on the record because of him saying "Who's out there" on Yertle the Turtle is about the funniest thing I have heard all day. So I
Okay,
appreciate it.
good. All right then.
So let us bust through the track by track. Starts off with Jungle Man, which is, actually it's a pretty good tune. It's got some nice guitar work. Anthony Kiedis is singing a little bit. He has taken a quantum leap forward vocally. Flea, of course, is Flea. Hillel is Hillel. And Cliff Martinez is good enough to get the job done.
He's good on here. Good song. They played it live for many years. And I would say, like, if you were gonna say, like, in the funk spectrum, from like Brothers Johnson to Prince to Parliament at the top, where do you, or James Brown is in there toward the top, like historic great funk artists, like, how would you term their funk rock funkiness? Is it like, it's because to me, I hear like all kinds of stuff in it. It's less punk, it's less pure rap, and it's more structured than the whole record is more structured than the first record.
This would be, I would say it's probably the Venn diagram where Parliament, Chuck Berry, and the Ohio Players all meet in the middle. It's not precisely over the top funk like, nobody made funk like Parliament, period. They just took, it's like that episode of The Simpsons, man. They took funk to strange new places, and nobody has ever been able to get high enough to go there. I mean, they got dudes with frog heads and diapers playing trombones. And that's not even talking about Bootsy yet. Then there's Bootsy. Then there's George. And and the other
Eddie
800,
Hazel.
and the other 875 people that were on that stage, along with a spaceship.
We should probably do Maggot Brain as a chaser sometime if you haven't done it somewhere else.
I have not. I would definitely go for that.
All right. Continue.
Next we move into Hollywood brackets, Africa brackets. You know what? It would be great if I could tell you right now, this is the last song they do about living in California.
Well, the problem is it's not just that they did this song about California, because it's one of the millions of songs about being from Los Angeles and California. If you're going to do a cover, and I know this wasn't their idea, this was George's idea, according to Wikipedia, which we know not to trust, but I'm going to just say, George, it's been said, referenced several places, George said, they were like, hey, we were thinking of covering the Meters. And George was like, you should cover Africa, but change the lyrics to be about Los Angeles. What a horrendous idea, both in idea, just the concept and the execution. Horrendous idea.
Oh, Hollywood!
Horrendous. Just don't cover the Meters and do a bad job, especially when they could have done better.
Did you get that?
Love these covers. Yeah.
Okay.
They could have done. I think the sound effect you were going for was.
No, I had to get. I was doing the line. It was a really long one.
On a podcast, no one will know, so you need to give the audio. But
I tried.
Could
you not hear it?
I really couldn't.
Oh,
anywho, not a good idea. Bad execution. If you out there like this, come in the comments and tell us. I can't help you though.
They did not stick the landing.
Did not.
Okay, so next we move on into American Ghost Dance, and this is just who asked for this? Who thought of this? This is definitely the kind of song that when you're really high on cocaine, you think is a great idea. And then you wake up the next morning and go, well, it needs to be 40 minutes anyway.
The execution of the song itself is not bad.
No, the execution, the performance is amazing.
Lyrics,
they do it with conviction. It's just a chaotic, jumbled mess.
And a producer who is not good at reining them in because he is a chaotic, jumbled mess himself.
You ever heard the man talk?
I have.
Has he ever heard himself talk? I don't think he has.
I'm not sure.
And I love George Clinton. Just for the record, I've seen him in concert, got a couple of his records over here. Love him. The man, the myth, the legend, hero to millions. A true gem of a human being. And we are very lucky to live in the same time as George Clinton. As a performer. Producer, well, we'll judge that later. Next, we move on into a Sly and the Family Stone cover, If You Want Me to Stay. I enjoy this one. Is it necessary? Not remotely.
So
but I dig it.
this is a good cover and their best cover of the early years. However,
Oh,
why does the album have two covers out of the first four songs? Is that a lack of confidence? Is that the label who sequenced the album for them? Why?
yeah, good question. Next, we move on into Nevermind, which, the part of the record that's really good is quickly ebbing away. And Nevermind, yeah, I think that's about right. I don't even know if he says Nevermind in the song. It's, again, they are young, they are high, they are with their hero. And this is one of those songs where it's like they're trying so hard to impress. However, they are not funk people like Parliament. They are much better when they make some semblance of sense and don't try to go crazy. And yeah.
And the funk comes at the sacrifice of the punk and the rock. That was a very, if there was any redeeming qualities of the first record and their early sound, it's gone here. It's not that
Completely.
rocking. It's not that
No.
rocking. It's a true funk and R&B attempt without a legitimate singer, but they tried real hard. Music's good, songs are good. Haleal's first Chili Peppers recording, wild, right? Great
Oh,
riffs,
he is
great
all,
playing
I mean, he is
solos.
all over it. Amazing stuff. And you can see a lot where, when we get to him later, where John Frusciante copped
Oh, it's
all of
totally.
his early
And
style.
I'm gonna say that like I feel like Halil is like a great point guard in basketball. He made everybody better by coming back to the band, including Cliff, who
Completely
plays
agree.
over his head on this record a lot in
Completely
a good
agree.
way.
Next, we move on into Freaky Styley. Quite frankly, we are still into very forgettable territory that would probably make more sense in altered states.
And horribly cringe lyrics. Just
Uh,
so bad.
I don't remember them, and I'm okay with that.
Oh my God. Just so bad. Like
Black Eyed Blonde.
Black Eyed Blonde I like. It's actually a good song. It's probably the best song on the record. Beside the first one. And they played it for years. And they played this in the movie. I may be stealing some thunder here. They appeared in a movie as themselves, which they've done a lot over the years, as well as Flea and Kiedis being in movies. But they were in the movie Thrashin', the early skateboard movie featuring Josh Brolin. And they played this song in the movie, and it's actually good. It's good. It's not terrible. It's not great. It's good.
It's forgettable for me, but
Okay.
there's a lot of samey on the forgettable stuff.
Sure.
Moving on into a remember all song, The Brothers Cup. I have no idea what's going on in their brains when they write this. What is the Brothers Cup? I didn't really have a brother to speak of, so I don't know. Maybe there is some trick, there's something that nobody told me about. But, here we have better backup vocals, we have a build, we've got all the good stuff. It's almost leaning into rock, but only just. It's just almost there.
I would say I have a feeling a lot of early Chili Peppers songs are just inside jokes between Flea and Kiedis that no one else knows. And they only know it, and it only makes sense to them.
Yeah, that makes sense. That would be a great explanation of the tiny little tracks like Battleship, which clocks in at just under 2 minutes. 9 times out of 10, I don't need a song under 2 minutes. You got to be real special, and this is not real special. Loving and touching. Okay, now we are into romance, and I don't want them going into freaky deaky like iced tea sex stuff, because that's just creepy. Which we're going to get plenty of that going forward. But loving and touching, yeah. I'm going to point out that Martinez and Sherman and Martinez have co-writes on this one.
Yeah, they clearly
As
used material written with Jack after he was fired. They Mustained him, but he's no Dave Mustaine. But he's
no, no,
good.
no,
I know he just passed away, so I don't want to pick
no,
on the
no.
guy.
Sherman was the one they got rid of. But they do have a Jack Irons co-writing credit on here, the original drummer who's not back yet. They
Mm.
got a bunch of Sherman and Martinez writing credits, so they still get points on the record. Good for them. Well, Yeah, you know what I mean. Moving on into Catholic Schoolgirls Rule, another one of those under 2-minute songs. The lyrics are best left forgotten.
Yep, an decent song, but then you find out what it was inspired by and what it's about, and it's horrible. Um,
Yeah.
oh,
They had very little filters back in the day.
nobody was telling them not to do it. Do whatever you want. Here's money. Wow.
Here's
Holy
money, and
shit.
George Clinton has a mountain of cocaine. So
The
you do some.
Schneiff co-produced the album, to quote Nick.
Oh yeah, got some Schneef. We got some stripper salt. We got some. We got it all. We got some hand truck fuel. You need to move some boxes around. Just
Yeah. Kiedis had to clean up from heroin and moved over to coke. Like,
yeah, he was using coke in
good
order to
job
get
taking care
off
of
of
your
his
friend.
using coke to get off of heroin withdrawals.
It
Okay.
worked. It worked good enough. It worked good enough for like barely a week when he was able to just bang out all the, as you can tell, he quickly banged out the lead vocals on this record in just a few days, and it shows.
Yes, it does. Next, we move on into sex rap. This song is terrible. I will say I have no idea what Anthony was saying because he was clearly high when he recorded this.
He definitely had the jaw action going, and he was like, right? Like,
Yeah,
horrendous.
spectacular. Great
Horrendous.
work.
Tremendous.
Next, we move on into 30 Dirty Birds, which is 14 seconds. I believe all they do is just say 30 Dirty Birds, and we move on, which is about as long as I can take a song called 30 Dirty Birds, 14 seconds. And then we finish off the record with Yertle the Turtle, written by Dr. Seuss, actually. So the Seuss family has points on a Red Hot Chili Peppers record. And again, the opening vocals are sung by the drug dealer. So he brought in the hand
Unnecessary.
truck.
I like Dr. Seuss a whole lot. Did not need this track. I know it's beloved. People love this song. Fans of theirs love this song
Oh, there's a lot of things in this world I love, but this ain't one
because
of them.
they remember it from, like, they know the book from childhood, but it's not a good finish to the record.
No, again, I'm gonna repeat myself. They did not stick the landing.
No.
Here
Is
on
this
this,
the worst early Chili Peppers record? Is this worse than the debut or better?
no, it's better.
It's better, but not by much. Just a hair.
I would give the first one about a 4.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Just not quite there. I would give this one maybe a 5.5, 5.25. It's an improvement. The good songs are really good.
There are 3 really good songs on here. Unfortunately, one of them is also Catholic Schoolgirls Rule with the horrible lyrics. Cringy, gross, horrible. But like, the song itself is kicks ass, and they continue to play it. They played it for a long time live.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
It's a
I
good
mean,
song, but it's
I
just
wish it wasn't,
I wish
but
it wasn't.
gotta say, Flea on that track is amazing.
Flea
And
overall on this record starts coming into his own here, like
oh yeah,
really coming into his own
gonna point
talent.
out that Flea is not one much for effects like people like Bootsy. Lets the guitar players get into that, most notably Frusciante, who I think lives in a guitar pedal. He's got so much going on, which works out great for the sound. But on this record, there's nothing, and he just goes to town on the bass on this one,
Yeah, if you
which
want to
is
fast forward a second, if you play bass or you care about bass, you're interested in bass, I'm pretty sure it's on the Tube of You, YouTube, not a tube of U's, the creature, EWE. There was a home bass video that Flea made in 1991-ish, around the time of this album, of Blood Sugar Sex Magic, excuse me, hosted by River Phoenix. The two of them are out of their mind high, just bugging out. Can't imagine the company that put this tape out, and it was on VHS, and I had it on VHS, would
it
allow
was
this.
probably about as coherent as the Ace Frehley anomaly lessons.
Right. Rest in peace, River Phoenix, but also, holy cow. And Flea talks about, like, he's like, oh, I noticed you never used effects like other bassists. And he's like, I think what Flea does is he just when he's gonna do the funkety funk, the thwappity thwaps, he dials in a filter, a sound, and then he doesn't touch the pedal. Other bassists are like moving the pedal around. Maybe they're working the pedal like a Cliff Burton would have, but or Jimi Hendrix. But usually Flea just dials in. He has a dry sound for everything else, and then he has a sound just for this, and it's set to a one level, and it's not the wah is not too elongated, right? It's not too drawn out. It's very short. So he's just getting inside the pocket of the thumpity thump, and he's not getting so much of a wah. Many other bassists had that wah going, and I was one of them. I wanted the long wah sound because that's what turned me on. But um, yeah, not a good. What happens in between the two records
They
after
go out
this?
on tour,
They do.
and here's where things get interesting.
This record does not chart again. After a lot of money was sunk into the band, not charting, right?
Not charting, just a bit of a pebble in the water. But they go out, they do their thing, and let's see what happens. What happens? What happens? Oh yeah, they get mad at Cliff Martinez, and oh look who needs the job, Jack Irons. So for the last little bit of the tour, we have the original Chili Peppers back, and I believe it's the next tour where they fired Hillel for a minute. But they seems things seem to happen for them on the road,
Yeah, I
and
think that's
not in a good
could
way.
could be a thing also where until they get a better manager later in their career, they're very self-destructive on the road. Apparently, again, another Wikipedia fact. Not sure if it's true or not. Cliff didn't want to quit, so they fired him. Like he wouldn't quit. They tried to make him quit and he wouldn't. So finally they just had to fire him. You're gone, bro. Um And I think I don't want to backtrack at all, but I will say that we got a few. We didn't get the facts wrong, but we got some of the facts omitted from What Is This, which was actually a better band than I remembered. I went back and listened to this week. And one of their high school buddies that was also in that band is also Alan Johannes, who ends up going on to make the band 11 that I'm obsessive about, and Queens of the Stone Age, and them Crooked Vultures, and Andrew Straussman, who was also in their high school clique, and he had his band and they had their band. So it's kind of funny that that after like basically one album, What Is This, that Hillel and Jack thought was the thing, Chili Peppers is not going to be a good band because Kiedis is not good. I'm pretty sure that was it. They didn't say it, I'm saying it. Kiedis is not that good in 1983 that they were ready to hitch their cart to him and Flea. So they had their own thing that seemed a little more strong, and it didn't work out. And somehow Chili's eclipse them, and that's why Jack is able to come back in the band.
It should be pointed out that the Chili Peppers were on a better label as well.
A much better label. But again, like you wonder how today that wouldn't. I don't know that they would have gotten 3 albums to figure their shit out.
No,
Like,
no.
there's no. It doesn't seem likely to me that they would
The
have
the fact that they
survived.
got 3 albums in the '80s is still kind of, when we think back to our episodes on Pink Floyd and we talk about their first five or six records for them to find their style. Think about that. 6 records in, Metallica's doing Load. 6 records in, Rush is in Hemispheres. 6 records in, Red Hot Chili Peppers are at One Hot Minute. So things were different when it was a lot cheaper to make these things, and when you were expected to put out 2 or 3 a year, which is that by this point in time that concept is gone because everybody wants to write their own tunes and not play all the covers that the label already owns. But so next, I will turn it over to you for the for Uplift Mofo Party Plan.
Right on. So they reconvene with their original kind of guys, and the label continues to support them on the crucial. It's often said in the music business, the third record is your most important record because if you haven't made it by then, you're not going to make it at all by then. Um, and so, interestingly enough, the label, which is now they're kind of pawned around on the EMI sub labels, including EMI Manhattan, where the next Chili's record lands. So there's EMI in England, there's EMI Manhattan, America, etc. So they go in the studio and they write or they go to write and then they go to record the Uplift Mofo Party Plan. I to this day do not know what the shit that means.
I think you nailed it earlier when you said that all of their lyrics are just inside jokes.
Just inside jokes. And they're interestingly so, Andy Gill at odds with. They love George Clinton. Results may vary. And then I'm pretty sure the record label picked this guy for them because this guy, on one hand, you can understand why he ended up with them. And on another hand, it's like this guy. But interestingly enough, Michael Beinhorn, who is still around producing records and on Twitter and such, he has ended up producing this album. And he, up to this point, produced the debut rap record by Fab Five Freddy. Yes, that one from Yo MTV Raps. He produced the Herbie Hancock record that went platinum. Nona Hendrix's debut album. Not a lot else. He was an engineer for a long time, but he was a kind of a guy who fancies himself as like a George Martin of rock. Like, oh, I hear in the symphony, I'm hearing 20 didgeridoos, I'm hearing 10 guys playing the triangle, like Ed Grimley. So that's like he hears in a kaleidoscope. Perfect for these guys who are dreaming big dreams musically, especially with the Fab Four in their mind back, with Irons back in the band. So I think originally, as the story goes, they were supposed to produce this with Pill guitarist Keith Levine, who also just passed away. A lot of people are dying. And Levine, he produced the demos, right? And maybe he was going to produce the album. And so they gave him $5,000 to record the demos. And Hillel and Levine immediately took 2,000 of it out for drugs without telling the band, and told them, oh, we got 3,000, which then they found out about and pissed them off because maybe it should have been all 5,000 for the drugs. But anyway, they make the demos that become this record. The label clearly is like, nah, we're going to give you somebody else who doesn't do drugs to be in it.
Or at least less drugs.
Less drugs. Beinhorn admits to not understanding the band when he started to work with them. Like, I don't understand this. Make me understand it. But he was kind of the go-between. The label actually hated the Chili Peppers, according to this entry. Like, openly reviled them so bad they didn't want them to succeed. It was the weirdest thing. But I was like the go-between, and I helped, ease the band. Yes, I just I don't understand, bro. I don't understand. Make me understand it. Kiedis is so messed up on drugs, he could not participate again in making the record. He seemed to not like making records as much as he liked drugs. But like Slovak helped get Kiedis healthy and coach him on his vocals and got him to sing better and all these things. Like, really proud and all these things of his performance. So they come out with this record. And again, there's a cover. We'll get to it. And this is a different record. Probably finally the first time the band sounds like the band now. I think that's fair, right? Because a lot of the horns and the funk trappings are stripped away from the band to get, like, they're lesser. They're not gone, correct, but they're less. And
they're pepper. They're not potatoes.
Right. They're not salt. They're not gravy. And what you're getting is a much more truer funk rock marriage, as opposed to a funk band trying to rock or a funk band occasionally punky. You're really getting, I think, the vision they had, like, what they really envisioned the band to be eventually. I know they love making a record with George. Side effects may vary on the results. So they start the record. They put this record out, and it finally cracks Billboard, and the label helps them make videos and put some energy behind them. And this is the record we get. And I think a lot of people's first Chili Peppers experience is hearing the band. This band was now on radio. This band had MTV videos, more finally like a popular song that also was an MTV video. So I think a lot of people, when they think of the first thing they ever heard from this band, this is it.
Probably about right. Yeah, this is 1987. It took them a little while to get back to this one. They, I believe,
I'm
Fight
a
Like a
sophomore
Brave
in high school in September of 1987 when this comes out.
I am in 6th grade, and the Cardinals have just lost the World Series to the Minnesota Twins in the Homer Dome.
Kirby Puckett and Frank Viola.
That is correct. I still remember Danny Cox coming in relief and throwing 8 straight wild pitches. Thank you, Danny Cox.
I remember that too.
Spectacular work, Danny.
Brutal.
But so we move on into, I guess, we'll move on into the track by track. We'll point out the videos as they come up. The one, I don't remember all the videos from this one. I know I didn't see them all.
They had one really, and we'll get right to it. So I'll do the track by track.
I thought the last track had a video.
Maybe, and there's also like a retroactive video later on.
Oh, yeah,
fair enough. So the record opens with the great but also problematic "Fight Like a Brave." So I feel like compelled to say that brave is now considered an epithet and not a positive commentary on Native Americans.
I believe Anthony Kiedis has some level of Native in him.
He is, and they have made many songs and many charitable gestures toward Indigenous American peoples after this. But at the time, "Fight Like a Brave" is the big hit. It's a big single. It's a big MTV video. Today, I imagine if I was Native, I would hate this song and hate that this is a popular song by them. But it was easily one of the best songs on the record. Also.
This is the one where the video they come out of the sandbox.
Indeed. And it's under 4 minutes. It's a tight little song, and it rocks a lot more than the last record, and it's focused. And I don't know if they wrote these songs in the order they appear, not counting the cover, but I do feel like it's a lot more focused and really kicks off this next era of the Chili's. Like, this is what the sound is supposed to be.
Yeah, we have heard the first legitimate Red Hot Chili Pepper song, in my opinion.
It sure beats Catholic Schoolgirls Rule. Any other thoughts on the song? Or are you good?
No, good song. We can move on.
All right. Funky Crime. Funky Crime is solid, not spectacular, but another good whippity song.
Perfect song for track 2.
Perfect song. Get it out of the way early or bury it at the end. The
Correct.
Third song is a deep cut and one of the best deep cuts in the Chili Peppers' entire career. Me and my friends. Great song.
You want to talk about 4 dudes on the same wavelength, all crushing it. Here you go. So far, this is the best song they have released.
Facts. And I think it's the best song on this record, actually.
I would probably agree with that.
Also, next song, Backwoods, pretty good.
Another good track.
Another 3 minutes, nice and short. Keep them short. Don't give Kiedis too much to do. I remember loving this song. I rewound and listened to this first side a lot.
Did you say don't give Kiedis too much to do?
Don't give him too much to do because he's not that good.
Don't let him think.
Ever.
Don't think, Meat. Just throw.
I just watched that. Come on, Meat. Let me see what you got. I went through a whole thing this weekend where I watched nothing but baseball movies for an entire day. Did nothing.
I heard you couldn't hit water if you fell out of a boat.
Which is great. And then I made hot dogs and baked beans for dinner.
I went to a baseball game this weekend.
You did?
But as I was with vegans, I did not have hot dogs.
That's insane. I would still eat a hot dog in front of vegans.
They were nice.
All right, still. Skinny, Sweaty Man.
Don't need this one.
Don't need a minute 16 of this. I think this is the end of side 1, if I'm not mistaken, on a cassette.
Yeah, this is the longest minute 16 of their career, in my opinion.
Just not necessary. Then another album highlight, Behind the Sun, which is such a good song that it gets a retroactive music video 6 years later when they put
on
out
the What Hits compilation.
On the What Hits compilation album. And that actually, people know that video because that was the first video after Under the Bridge. So people really remember that video.
No, I would no. I'm gonna actually you because you actually meet all the time.
Captain actually sidekick. Go ahead.
Wouldn't it be like more along the lines of Sergeant Maybe? Captain actually sidekick would be Sergeant Maybe.
Oh my gosh, perfect.
Thank you. So Sergeant Maybe's going to chime in. I believe "Suck My Kiss" was the next video after Under the Bridge. However, the fact that nobody ever saw it because back in 1992, you didn't drop these tracks with all the F bombs in them. Which that track, great track, lots of F bombs.
Then the most confusing song on the record. Why another cover? They still can't
Is
get
it
one of
though?
these. Is it? It is.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are they
Subterranean
sure?
Homesick Blues.
If they say so,
It doesn't sound anything like it except the lyrics,
which you can't understand,
which you can't understand because you can't understand Bob
or even really hear Anthony on this
or
one. He's
barely hear.
mumbling.
He's mixed so badly because he sucks. Sorry, this sucks. Don't cover this song. Don't cover Bob Dylan. Don't pay him a nickel. He's a piece of shit anyway. Yes, it's a great song. It's a classic American folk song. Why do this? Why taint your music with this? Whose idea was this? I want recompense.
You're not going to get it.
You owe me reparations for my ears for this.
All righty. Moving on, I don't think we want to say the actual
Yeah,
title.
we're gonna I can't. I've been saving up all day for this. We're not gonna say the actual title, but we're gonna say the original censored title: "Special Secret Song Inside," or "Party on Your Privates." Not the other P word, not privates. And so,
like a little kitty.
yeah, it's a good song.
Yeah,
It's a funny. What happens is they make so many jokes and joke songs that you couldn't take it seriously if they wanted you to. So this is a throwaway, and as a throwaway song on side B of a half forgettable album, it's not bad. But it's also not very good, but it's okay.
I found it cringy at best. And this is a band that for every record they put out, until they got really legitimately sober, because they don't get legitimately sober for many, many years.
They're not legitimately sober now. I mean, come on.
Well,
I think
they're at least
I
not
would
on
say
the
that
heron.
it seems like a running thing where the 8th track of every record is the joke song, and it's awful every time, except on the later records.
Every record they have a song where it's just really, really cringy, and you're like, really? You got in the vocal booth and you let people watch you say those things?
Why?
Tell me I'm wrong.
These 2 in a row are really ruin the record, borderline ruin
what is
their best record.
You know what? Gretzky's coming down the wing.
It would be like Gretzky passing to Ty Domi, bro. Come on.
No, they got 2 in a row. He's got the first 2. Gretzky's coming down the wing.
You just compared the Chili Peppers to Wayne Gretzky. Anyway.
No, I just want No, I did not.
You kind of did.
Number Wayne Gretzky's a suck.
No Chump Love Sucker.
And Gretzky shoots and scores for the hat trick. The hats are coming down.
Okay. It's also bad. It's not good. It's under 3 minutes, which is merciful. It's okay in terms of musical composition. Again, Anthony ruining everything on this side too. I don't know.
He is he instead of being King Midas, he's like the Michelin Man on this one.
I am become death, Anthony Kiedis. Anyway, a little reprieve toward the end. Walking on down the road. Okay. Cliff Martinez gets a song right, obviously written before he was fired. Solid, not spectacular. 3.5 minutes, a little long for them, but okay. Love Trilogy, no idea. Do you have an idea what this thing's about?
Yes, I do. But I think it's like the holy trilogy of cocaine, heroin, and marijuanas. I can't imagine what else it would be.
That's fair.
Or at least was inspired by.
And then you feel like this last track saves the record a little bit on side 2, the Organic Anti-Beatbox Band, which was kind of about them.
I'm sorry, did I say that?
You kind of did at the top that it was good. The ending song is good, and the first song is good.
No, I said it was a video.
Oh, it is a video. I thought you said it was also good.
I don't.
Maybe not.
It's not bad.
It's not bad, and they let's also let's give the credit. We've slaughtered this record for what is arguably their best record so far, 3.
Arguably, no, this is their best record.
Let's give a little credit. Like, nobody makes a better self-referential song than the Red Hot Chili Peppers, right? Like,
and you know what? When nobody knows who you are, Should you
Talk
really
about
be right?
yourself all the time.
Should you really be doing these self-referential songs and singing about California in high school and whatever the hell organic anti-beatboxing is?
Well, I mean, I like the beatbox thing, and again, like they worship rap. Still
I
not a lot of rap rock bands at this time. I don't know if you can name that many other ones.
At this point in time,
Warrior Soul comes to mind, but
Faith
they
No
were just
More
so
exists.
Faith No More, but they were so much more than a rappy, like Chuck is,
Not with Chuck.
yeah, but like still,
They
they're
were
not just We Care a Lot. And Song has singing. All right.
Now I want to actually talk about this song a little bit. This song, and hear me out, is a funeral dirge. This is when they let go of that, because the first record is who they were at that time. The second record is who they're trying to be. The third record is who they are and who they will become. This song, I feel, is a leftover. It's a vestigial remain of that first record. Obviously, was not written at that time, most likely, but we have the very rappy, the very punky, the very nonsensical, the very unstructured Red Hot Chili Peppers, the pure chaos Chili Peppers of the early 80s. They do this, and we don't get anything like this again until By the Way. When in the song By the Way, they did every style they've ever done in 4.5 minutes.
Fair enough. I will give you a little bit more credit and say, yeah, it's not bad. It's actually saved side two a little bit. The whole rest
Oh,
of
it's not a bad song, and
it's
I mean,
yeah.
I just didn't remember saying that, and I don't
All
want
right.
people putting words in my mouth.
Sorry, Captain Ashley says
Even
sorry.
if I agree with them.
Sergeant maybe or whatever.
Maybe
Sidekick maybe.
Should probably be private, maybe, really.
Private. Maybe's privates.
Oh,
All of Fishbone is on here as backing vocalists. Beanhorn somehow gets on here as a backing vocalist. And here's a little fun fact for you. The cover of the album, excuse me, was done by fantasy illustrator Gary Panter, who you might know, who did a bunch of Frank Zappa records. He did Pee-wee's Playhouse.
this looks like Frank Zappa playing at Pee Wee's Playhouse.
And also, Gary Panter is best friends with Nick's favorite cartoon auteur, Matt Groening of The Simpsons. They are best friends, and his wife used to manage the Germs. So it's like 6 degrees of Flea's punk separation always coming in.
I thought you were gonna say Gerald Scarf.
That would be. We didn't have a Pink Floyd mention until just now, so that's pretty good for us.
It was organic too. That was not a shoehorn.
So I don't know how much further we want to go today.
You know what? Let's go ahead and
we want to start on a downer next week or end on a downer now.
Let's end on the downer now, I think.
So the band goes on tour, and Kiedis and Hillel are just wrecked on heroin, right? Just destroyed.
Well, this is when they try to get healthy. They were on tour.
It doesn't work yet. They fire Hillel because he's like incompetent live on the Heron. And they fire him and they bring in Dwayne Knight, who is also a Parliament guy, and he can't cut it because they like that he's a funk guy, but he can't play anything else they do. He was a good soloist, but Hillel comes back in a little cleaner, and Kiedis and Hillel vow to keep each other sober. It's amazing. It's gonna happen this time. And they come off a tour because I just watched the Behind the Music again today. And 3 weeks later, Hillel is dead of an overdose. Just horrible. And Kiedis was high when he found out, according to Kiedis, and he goes right on using. He doesn't stop for a day. So, like, oh, I should have had the wherewithal to stop. But he talks about it in Scar Tissue. I deeply remember this. Like, even at my worst, lowest moment when my friend was dead, I still used heroin. That's my usage of the voice this week. I remember when Hillel Slovak died, and I was deeply sad. I became a much bigger fan after this, but like I remember it being reported that he had overdosed. It wasn't as many overdoses back then, or as many as we heard about, and I found it to be super sad. Jack feels like he cannot go on and quits the band. And we leave off probably for the end of this episode that Flea and Ketis gets so clean enough, and they're left wondering if they have a band anymore.
Let's real quick, if I could, we made a lot of giggly stoner jokes this episode. You kind of have to, if you're me, in order to get through this kind of thing. They were who they were. Unfortunately, they didn't all make it out, which is always a great tragedy. And part of the reason why I make those kinds of jokes at the expense of the drugs that they use, when you get into this kind of stuff, you are on a train, and I am ridiculing that train because I don't want to see, here I live in Missouri. I live in St. Louis, Missouri, and the opioid crisis here is high. It is high. People are dying left and right here on overdoses. And
as they are here in San Francisco, it's a hot mess.
Correct. So when I make fun of it, it's because I'm making fun of it because let's take the sting out of it and let's make heroin chic not a thing.
It's a Schadenfreude. We're deflecting our pain with comedy, and I have many.
That is not
friends.
Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude is something very different, and you don't want to use that in this context.
All right, sorry, Jesus.
No, Schadenfreude is happiness in the unpleasantness of others.
Okay, that's fine. That's me. Sorry.
Not in this case. Not in this case.
We're deflecting. We're deflecting and projecting so we don't feel the pain. Listen, like I love Hillel Slovak. I love the Chili's. This was the album that made me a fan. My Hebrew name is Hillel, by the way. It's named for my grandfather. Rough when he died. I remember it. They lost their friend. They still talk about him. They still make tribute songs to him today. And even in the future, guys coming in are always under that shadow of that massive guy that taught Flea how to play bass and got him to love rock music.
I mean, if you think about it, legitimately and honestly, without Hillel Slovak, this band never exists.
100,000%.
He congealed that. He knew a drummer that he was in a band with, and he got Flea to play the bass, and Anthony's Flea's best friend. So of course Anthony's got to be involved. And oh look, we all like doing this stuff together. We make music together, and wow, they end up going on to absolute fame, fortune, and the complete and utter dream. Unfortunately, excess rears its ugly head, and this is the 80s. The 80s is not, going to rehab wasn't really a thing to speak of yet. Nobody talked about, it wasn't until the 90s we heard about Ozzy trying to go rehab, try to get clean. Nobody was really talking about getting clean. I think Stevie Ray Vaughan, after this, talks about getting clean, and he was probably one of the first big guys to really talk about getting clean.
Stevie Ray, that other blues guy who's British, I don't like talking about, and Duff are the first people I really remember having to go away to come back. Okay. Right. We lose rock soldiers. We don't want to lose anymore. So
correct. And
there's a good chance to say that if anybody's out there struggling, maybe we'll provide some numbers and some literature where you can get some help.
At this point in time in the history, the support network is getting off of heroin meant throwing up for 5 days at best. So, we talk about how they're going through withdrawals and they're wrecked and they're sick. Yes, they are absolutely that. When heroin is such an addictive substance that when your body gets used to it, it's like I don't like quoting Axl Rose very much, but in the song Mr. Brownstone, which is a song about being on heroin and what it does to you, a little used to, what was it? A little used to do it, and the little got more and more. Now, a little used to do it, now the little doesn't do it, so the little got more and more. And eventually you get to the point where you can't go a day, you can't go half a day without throwing up violently for hours. So yeah, I get how hard it is to kick this. And I am thankful that both Frusciante and Ketis both kicked it eventually.
Sort of. We'll talk about that later.
Eventually, I said eventually.
Eventually, but not really. The problem with heroin is running out, as told to me by a former friend of mine who's a legit user. But anywho, on this dour ending, I think
On
it's
this
time
dour ending, let's
to take us home.
briefly, no, not yet.
Oh no.
Let's briefly talk about some good things.
Okay.
We are 3 records into the Red Hot Chili Peppers in our second episode. There is about an album's worth of really killer tunes out of these 3. We are seeing the band growing and changing into what's going to be legitimately a supergroup in less than 5 years from this moment. We are seeing the seeds, the tree has planted, it has sprouted. There are little buds on the trees. It's a sapling now. It's a sapling. It's a sapling in the springtime. So, for all the downness, for all the bad notes, there's some good ones too. And
the best is coming.
The best is coming. And regardless what happened to Hillel Slovak, we're talking about a man that will be remembered in perpetuity. So he left his mark. We got that at least. And with that, let's wrap this stuff up. Thank you very much for listening. If you are still here, hopefully you can give us a star review on your favorite podcast platform. Hopefully you've given us a thumbs up already because you're awesome. Please subscribe. Give us an 8 to 12 week trial run on your subscription. And you know what? If we got anything wrong, if we were insensitive, if we were overly sensitive, get at us at the comments. I yearn for feedback. I friggin' need it. But with that, as we always say, well, before I get to that, I, of course, am Nick Cameron. You can get me on Twitter at NIK_NO_C, Nick No C. You can get with me on Instagram at Glacially Musical, no spaces, no underscores, simple. Keefy, of course, at Ghost Cult Keefy, Ghost Cult Mag, and Ghost Cult Everything for all your news, views, reviews, and occasionally more of me. And with that, as we always say, this is the Glacial Musical Podcast. It does not play in Peoria.